300 feet. That's how deep underground Iran buried its most important nuclear facility, inside a mountain, behind concrete, believing nothing could reach it. Then, on the night of June 21st, 2025, 14 bombs proved otherwise. Today, we're breaking down the strike on Iran's Fordow facility, the bomb built for exactly this mission, the operation that carried it out, and why even now, nobody fully agrees on what actually happened underground. If you want the real story behind the headlines, hit subscribe. This channel breaks down the military history behind today's biggest conflicts. Near the city of Qom, in northwestern Iran, there's a mountain that isn't just a mountain. Carved inside it, one of the most fortified nuclear facilities on Earth. It's called the Fordow Fuel Enrichment Plant. Reportedly built hundreds of meters underground, wrapped in rock and reinforced concrete, specifically designed to survive airstrikes. Ask yourself this. How do you build something meant to be unbombable? You bury it deep enough that no conventional weapon can reach it. For years, that's exactly what Fordow was, a facility widely believed to be immune to airstrikes. Israeli jets could hit Iran's other nuclear sites. Fordow, they couldn't touch. Inside, reportedly, thousands of centrifuges, machines that spin uranium gas at extreme speeds to enrich it. The higher the enrichment level, the closer that uranium gets to weapons grade. Iran has consistently said its nuclear program is peaceful. The United States and Israel have said the opposite, that Fordow was central to a weapons-capable enrichment effort. That disagreement is the entire reason this story exists. By June 2025, tensions had been rising for weeks. Israel had already launched a bombing campaign against Iranian military and nuclear targets on June 13th. But Fordow remained standing because Israel simply didn't have a bomb big enough to reach it. Only one country possessed a bomb capable of doing the job, and that country was about to enter the war. To understand what happened next, you need to understand the weapon itself, because this wasn't an ordinary airstrike. Meet the GBU-57, the massive ordnance penetrator, nicknamed the Bunker Buster. 30,000 pounds, built from high-strength steel, designed to punch through rock and concrete before detonating deep underground. Only one aircraft can carry it, the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. And only the United States owns either one. Ask yourself, what does it take to move an aircraft like that, undetected, halfway around the world, without anyone knowing? On the night of June 21st, 2025, the United States launched what it called Operation Midnight Hammer. According to U.S. officials, the operation involved 125 aircraft, including B-2 bombers carrying the bunker buster bombs, alongside a wave of decoys and support aircraft to protect them en route. For hours, these bombers flew toward Iranian airspace, undetected, carrying weapons that had never been used in combat before. Meanwhile, a separate part of the operation moved by sea. U.S. Navy submarines positioned offshore, preparing to fire more than 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles at a third target, the Isfahan nuclear complex. 3 sites, 1 coordinated strike. Fordow's deeply buried enrichment halls. Natan's sprawling centrifuge complex, already damaged by earlier Israeli strikes. And Isfahan's uranium conversion and fuel production facilities. Just after 2 a.m. local time, the lead B-2 bomber reached its target. It dropped the first 2 GBU-57s on Fordow. The remaining bombers followed, releasing their payloads on the pre-planned aim points. By the time it was over, 14 bunker buster bombs had struck Fordow and Natan's combined. This was, by every account, the first time these bombs had ever been used against a real target. Nobody, not the pilots, not military planners, could say with total certainty what would happen underground. The bombs were away. The mountain had been hit. Now came the hardest question of the entire operation. Did it actually work? Quick pause. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, now's a good time to like this video and drop a comment. It genuinely helps this channel keep making them. Okay, back to the story. Within hours, satellite images started coming in. What they showed, craters. Several of them, clustered on the ridgeline above Fordow's underground halls. Analysts counted at least 6 distinct impact points on the mountainside, with gray-blue ash and debris scattered across the surface. Tunnel entrances appeared blocked with dirt and rubble. But here's the problem. Craters on the surface don't tell you what happened 300 feet down. Picture the engineers analyzing this from thousands of miles away, poring over pixel-grade satellite images, trying to answer a question no one could verify on the ground. Was the enrichment hall itself destroyed, or just buried? President Trump addressed the nation hours later. His words were unambiguous. He said Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities had been completely and totally obliterated. Air Force Chief Dan Kane, briefing reporters the next day, confirmed all 3 sites had been struck within a roughly 25-minute window. Iran's government offered a different account. Officials acknowledged serious damage, but initially described it as limited, saying the harm was not irreversible. And in between those two positions, a stream of independent and classified assessments, each reaching slightly different conclusions. The IAEA's Director General said it was clear Fordow had been directly impacted, but even the world's top nuclear watchdog admitted it couldn't determine, with certainty, how much damage existed inside the enrichment halls themselves. A leaked U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency assessment reportedly concluded the strikes had only set Iran's program back by months, not years, directly contradicting the administration's public statements. Israeli intelligence, meanwhile, assessed the facilities were damaged but not destroyed. This is the human element of this story that rarely gets discussed. Intelligence analysts on multiple continents staring at the same satellite images and classified data, and reaching genuinely different conclusions under enormous political pressure to get it right. Nobody was lying, necessarily. They were working with imperfect information about a facility none of them could physically enter. And that uncertainty? It didn't go away after a few weeks. It's still part of this story more than a year later. So, more than a year on, what do we actually know? Let's separate confirmed fact from lingering uncertainty. Confirmed. 14 GBU, 57 bunker-buster bombs were dropped on Fordow and Natanz. Confirmed. Tomahawk missiles struck Isfahan. Confirmed. The IAEA has had no on-site access to any of these 3 facilities since the strikes. That last point matters enormously. Every assessment since the strike, American, Israeli, Iranian, or international, has been made without anyone physically walking into these sites. Later reporting added more clarity, even without inspections. The IAEA confirmed the above-ground portion of Natanz pilot enrichment plant was destroyed and assessed that a loss of power likely caused further damage underground. At Isfahan, damage was confirmed at the chemical laboratory, the uranium conversion plant, and a fuel manufacturing facility. Independent analysts, including the Institute for Science and International Security, concluded that the strikes likely destroyed or disabled nearly all of Iran's roughly 22,000 installed centrifuges across its enrichment sites. That's a staggering number, but likely disabled is still an estimate, not a confirmed inspection result. Ask yourself, in a story this consequential, how long can uncertainty like this last? Months later, satellite imagery showed Iran conducting limited cleanup and fortification work at some of these sites, but analysts noted little sign of resumed enrichment activity at Fordow, Natanz, or Isfahan. In one report, imagery even showed a tunnel entrance at the Isfahan mountain complex appearing open again in late 2025, a small but closely watched detail for anyone tracking whether Iran might attempt to rebuild. The bottom line, more than a year later, the damage was real and significant, but the full picture remains genuinely unresolved, filtered through political statements, partial satellite data, and an agency that still can't get through the front door. Here's why this still matters, right now, in 2026. The conflict between the U.S., Israel, and Iran didn't end in June 2025. It escalated further into 2026, with additional strikes reported on other Iranian nuclear-linked sites. Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan remain at the center of every conversation about Iran's nuclear future, because whether they can ever be rebuilt determines whether this entire chapter of history repeats itself. The IAEA continues monitoring the sites remotely through commercial satellite imagery, without ever setting foot inside them. Iran suspended broader cooperation with the agency shortly after the strikes. That means the world is still, in a very real sense, guessing, using pixels from space to judge whether a nuclear weapons program is truly disabled or quietly being rebuilt underground. This is the modern reality of underground warfare. The deepest bunker in the world doesn't guarantee safety anymore. But even the most powerful bomb in the world doesn't guarantee certainty either. That gap between destruction and confirmation is exactly where this story still lives today. So let's recap. A facility buried 300 feet underground, believed unreachable. 14 bunker-buster bombs dropped in a single night, in a mission that had never been attempted before. Real, significant damage, confirmed by multiple independent sources. But a full, verified picture that, more than a year later, still doesn't exist. Here's the question worth sitting with. In an age where the deepest bunkers can be reached, is anything truly unreachable anymore? If you want more breakdowns like this, real sourcing, conflicting claims laid out honestly, no speculation dressed up as fact, subscribe. And tell me in the comments what conflict you want covered next. Thanks for watching.